Hello, everybody. My name is Neil, an artist out of Orlando, Florida. I wanted to kind of go over real quick rendering Axiom in Redshift, so you kind of understand it's the current version of Redshift, and so that you understand how um, the data is brought in. Now, this is based off pretty much taken from Saul Espinosa's tutorials and bringing data into the new artist standard volume um, shader node um, um, that you build inside the material. Um, but I also wanted to show you how I combine both the fire and smoke into one volume and render it that way as well. And so you get, the best of both. So now what I want to show you, this is the result of both the fire and smoke combined into one. Um, this is the what I got. Um, Not too bad. And the this fire is based off of the tutorial from Axiom, the big fire tutorial, where I created several separate emitters on the ground to emit the fire, and then I used the fire to emit smoke. And so that tutorial is, where is it? You can do a search for big fire tutorial on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and I'll bring it up here. Um, Big fire axiom. And it's actually this tutorial right here. And what I'll do is I'll provide the link to this tutorial so you can go through it. I'm not going to go into detail how I created it. I'm just going to go through the nodes real quick so I can show you how I did it. I didn't do the embers for this scene. Um, I just did the fire and the smoke. Um, so, um, and this is what I got. And I put a light source in here just to have some light, so. Um, but anyway, let me go ahead and just quickly go over the nodes real quick. So this is the fire. I started off with the emitters, um, circle, giving, scattering some points. Um, and I did a match size to bring it up to the ground level, created temperature and density, gave it a P scale like he did. And then I did the same thing he did in the tutorial sphere, gave it some noise, wrangle, transfer the P scale, transfer the P scale, and then I created separate attribute noises and combined them into one, gave some velocity uh, here, same thing with over here, gave, noise temperature and all that. So there's really four separate emitters that's doing different things. Um, and then I output that, and this is what I got as far as and this is what I got as far as the points. You can, volume rasterize, and you can see how it changes. And then I put it into the Axiom solver, output the fire by itself. All right. Um, and then I took the fire and I put in the pyro post process. I mean, I could probably have gotten away with not really having the pyro post process, but I did anyway so I could see the numbers of what I'm getting when I output and when I go to shade this. So you'll see where I'm using them at. I kind of using them and kind of not using them. Yeah, you'll see. The main thing is just showing you how to render with Redshift. Um, but taking the temperature, you know, creating density from the temperature like he did in the tutorial, velocity, merging them all so you get this, um, and then resizing it. Probably didn't have to do that the way that I'm combined them, but resizing it, um, visualized it just so I could see what's going on here. Um, and then another solver for the smoke. I'm not going to go over the settings. You can get all that from the big fire video. But I outputted the smoke here, and you can see that is smoke. Now here's the interesting part. This is the combined fire and smoke. Um, and if let me do, well, let me get in here. This will take a second because it's, all right. Oh, there's no post-process in there. All right. So I'm just going to take this post-process here. Or not post-process, but the bake volume. Now the post-process you can do with or without the bake. You don't need for the bake volume, but I'm going to show you the in here real quick. Ooh, I need to turn on smoke. All right, and this is what it looks like in the viewport, right? All right. Now, first we're going to go over shading the fire. So we'll move this out of the way. We'll go over the shade fire, and then I'm going to go over this combine node. And I'm going to include the hip file into I'm going to include the hip file in the video so you can download it. So once again, using a post process just to get numbers. The pyro bake volume, you can use it if you want to output color for the to use in the temperature color, but you don't have to. And you'll notice that I'm using a material node, SOP node in here, rather than assigning the material on this tab. There's no real reason for it. There's no difference in the output. The only thing is if you want to like expand your volume, if you want to have volume padding, which is um, which, which is not necessary for this because the volume is expanding, and contracting. So it's not necessary for that. But if you have like just a plain VDB object, VDB node, and you're just making noise in it, and you want to expand it to get more out of it, then you would assign your texture here on the render tab, and then you'll be able to use this. And all this is, like I said, is covered in Saul's tutorials. If you're a part of his Patreon, it's all covered. So let me go in here to the output, and I just have ground and fire right now. I'm not doing any smoke, and I just want to show you what the render looks like just for the fire. I think I turned the light off. I don't know. Okay, let me turn this light off so you can see the fire a lot better here. Now, I don't know why density is going lower than lower than 0, but probably the way that I combined it. But in any case, this is what the fire looks like with no lights. Um, and you can render this separately so you can do your compositing. Um, let's go ahead and do this, and I'll show you the how I pipe this in. That's a pretty good looking fire without any lights. I'll have to kind of fix it in post a little bit, but so we don't need that. Actually, I can take that out. And this is the normal volume node that this is the old volume node that you used to use. We're no longer using that. Um, I'll show you this in a second. But this is how I'm doing the color. Obviously, density and scatter won't have any effect because there's no smoke in this. There's no real density. It's all temperature. Now I switched this to color so I could use color, but you can also use black body, right? You see what happened. But if you use black body, then you got to bring this down a little bit, and now you're kind of back to normal again. And you just play around with a little bit to get what you want. Um, you know, so you just play around with it. and so you can get a decent looking fire. Now, if I go back here, get this, let me see, and you can just bring it down till you get the same thing, you know, so probably like that. So that's about right there. Um, and you can use the temperature to play around with it, you know, to give it different looks. Um, you know, so it depends on the temperature you want. And that's actually, and there we go. And there's pretty much the same output that we got before. Um, so let me set this back here, change it back to color, up it, you know. And so that's how, and I'm using the volume scatter attribute to bring in the temperature value. And you'll notice I kept it 0 to 1. Let me see. You know, even though my value is here is 0 to 9.1, let's say 0 to 10, right? Um, Let me see here. I haven't really figured out how to get this yet, but if I do this 0 to 10, then I can do that. And I'm using color. Uh, you know, so it depends. It takes a little playing around with, so, and it might, and the old max might even be, it just depends on what you want. I haven't quite figured this part out yet. Maybe it's like this and this. No, it's not that. It's funny. That's just the same as doing the other one. Oh, it's probably because of this. Let me actually see here. Let me see if that's it. Kind of. Oh, yeah. And then you can bring your values up. It doesn't look good. I don't, you know, it kind of looks decent. Now, if I use black body, you know, then I get kind of the same, that same result. So it depends on how you want to do it. It's actually not too bad. So it depends on how you want it. The way I chose was, you know, I did, you know, I went and did it this way. Um, you know, I did it this way. So that's how you would kind of, that's how you bring it in. Alternatively, what you can do is, we'll stop this here. The other way you could do the color, and that's just, we'll just do this. The other way you could do this, now I have a binding here. I have a CE attribute where I'm binding the emission volume. And this probably would be the better way to do it. I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. And so now if I do that, now I got, you know, I'm bringing this in with a color attribute, bringing it into the color here. I'll set this back to 1. We'll just start fresh here. And now what I get is this. As soon as it goes. Not sure why it's taken so long to do this, but oh, there we go. And if I do it that way, then I bring this down to 1.1. And so there I go. I get pretty much, you know, a similar, you know, output. Um, and so if I switch this to black body, now this is bright. You know, I can bring that down to 0.01. The other thing I can do Ooh, you know, you can get, it depends on the various looks, depends on what you want. But 0.01 by 0.01, you know, bring it down. Just depends on the look you're going for, you know. So you can get all sorts of nice looks from it. That's really bright. Hmm. Let's see. The range is from what, 0 to what? Is it, we'll do 0 to 10. Let's see if we do 0 to 10. See if that changes anything. See what that changes. Come on. There we go. And so you can bring that, and you can play with it here. You can bring the intensity down. Um, you know, it depends on the flavor that you, depends on what you want. Just kind of waiting on this a little bit. And you can see how bringing the intensity down, you know, really changes it. And so you can do all your changes here, and the color will come right over since you're grabbing that value. You can have the post-process node in here. You don't have to have it, but it's completely up to you. And let's see. Let me actually play with this a little bit here. I wonder what happens if I do copy parameter and do that. This is basically just a remapping, and you'd have to play with the you know, your ramps a little bit. I might actually need to move these. And you see we got this kind of output now, and I could move these more like right there. I think that should. We'll see which way they go. But you can, I mean, the possibilities are endless. Obviously, the hottest parts are right here, and you know, and the, so let's see what this does. So it just depends on what you want to get. All right, or it could be moving this way, but yeah. But you can see the detail in this. So it takes a little playing around with. I think I might just keep that for now. So, and there you go. That's how you would bring that in for the fire. Now, if I bring in the smoke along with it, all right. Let me see the smoke. And you can see I'm doing the post process here as well. There's no temperature, there's just velocity. And this one I'm not, you don't use, um, I mean, you could use probably the color on it, but the CE the same way if you had your bindings. Um, you know, but there's also a, you know, this is the emission volume, but I'm not using the post process on this. I'm just using the pyro, or I'm sorry, bake volume, just using the post process. Actually, let's convert that to PDB here. And then I'm doing the same thing here. I'm just assigning a, you know, a material node, a SOP node here. And this is the smoke. And all I'm doing, and again, this is all from, um, don't need this. And this is all from really Saul's Patreon tutorials. Um, so you see I'm bringing the density in, standard volume, um, and so this is what it would look like. Yeah, I should have hit this, but it's all right. And I might turn the light on for this. Hold on. See what it looks like. I forgot to turn the light back on so you see the smoke. Now having them separate like that, you can output the smoke and the fires separately, and that way you can comp them. So this is really, in my opinion, a better way. Let's turn the light back on so you see what the smoke looks like. Da, 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 da. All right. Let it ramp up there. All right, and there we go. There's the smoke. This actually looks better in the. This actually looks better in the light than the other one did, I think. Um, Let me do this. There we go. Make it a little hotter. Look at that detail. That's actually pretty good detail. And so this is what it looks like um, there. And you can, the scattered color, the transparency, you can, play with that a little bit, and you can see there's more smoke in the, you know, I think this actually matches more with the video transparency, and then you can use that as well. You can, let me see what happens here. See, it has no effect if there's no color, if there's no, and then you can do, something like this and make the smoke lighter. It just, play around with it a little bit. And then you can add your color. You want red smoke, blue smoke, magenta smoke. Just depends. See, in this way, you could play around with the color separately without really affecting the fire too much. But that's what that looks like. Um, so I'm bringing in the density attribute. I'm, to get more out of it. Now you can also play with the density number, to get more or less. you know, but in this way, no. In this case, I'm bringing it down to 0.1, applying it. And you, when you do it this way, you want to remove the name, the density out of this, because it'll double up on the density pretty much. Um, but this is how I'm piping it in, um, which has a lot better control because you can remap your values. I could do that to get more density, that to get less. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do. You know, but it depends on what your flavor is. And now the combined fire and smoke. So now I want to show you how I did that. First, we'll change this. Accept. And then see, fire and smoke. Get the shader assigned. I'll show you how I combine the volumes. It took me a minute to play around with the VDB node, but once I got it, it was there. taking a minute. And there it is. And here it is. Now I like the color of the smoke in this better than the other one, but it just depends, I guess. You have to play around with it. But this is what that looks like. And the way that I combined, we'll start with this. The way that I combined them was I took a VDB combine node. We got the smoke and the fire, right? And I did a VDB combine. Hold on. VDB combine. And these are what I use. And because I had, I had density and velocity here, because I had three fields coming from here, the VDB combined, if you don't set your groups of what you wanted to combine, um, then it's not going to break. It's just going to give you a warning. So I just did it this way, group A, group B to match, one to one. And the temperature still gets brought over because uh, there's only one temperature field that's coming in anyway. You're only outputting, since I'm only outputting, density and velocity from here. I'm not outputting temperature. I probably could have, but I think the results were a lot better than this. I'd have to play around with it. But these are the settings that I got to add. And if I go back to frame 96, give it a minute to catch up. That's what I got. And you can do, the pyro bake volume, but the operation add, resample, you want the lower res to match the higher res, because what will happen is if you don't, then the smoke is going to look like that big compared to the fire, and you're not going to see the smoke at all. The interpolation I chose quadratic to get as smooth a result as I could. Add operation because nothing else really worked. I played around with it. Nothing else really worked at all. Um, I tried several options and it looked like they didn't just look like they didn't work. So I'll have to maybe play around with them more and see if there's anything else that works. But right now, this is what worked. Resample and then the interpolation. I mean, you don't have to. The interpolation could be nearest or linear or whatever. Um, but I chose quadratic. Um, and then I output that. Come on, it's chugging. And then I just output that into its own file, fire and smoke. And I did this just to get the numbers. And I got the material node. And then to dive in the material builder, this is the material. So pretty much the same things that I did here. Um, Actually, it should be CE. Temperature. And I'm using black body. All right. If I want the color, then I would have to do this. Let me actually make sure I get that hooked up. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nope. Crap. Wow, 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 wow. Oh, right here. Come on. I'll attach the post-process volume so you can. Ooh, nope, not that one. All right. Make sure I'm outputting that bind, which is, oh, it'd be nice if I didn't change that. All right, CE. So I'm outputting the baking the emission volume into that channel right there, and I'm bringing it back in here, that attribute. And you notice I did the same thing with the fire. I'm bringing it into the density channel and just played around with the numbers a little bit. Now with this, the color, you can set it on black body or color. It just depends. You just have to play with it. And you saw me play with mess around with the other one, what they look like, the different options. You can use black body or color for the temperature mode. You just have to play with the scale a little bit if you do the volume color attribute node. So I should have saved the image just to compare it. There we go. And then you see, oh, I gotta play around with this a little bit. Hmm. Hmm. It's probably why I went with a rant with this rather than the other one. But you'll get to see something here. But you can see the emission going right through the smoke. It looks pretty decent. It's all right. But you see how I brought down, how bringing that scale down makes it a little bit more manageable. I can do this, bring that the intensity down, you know, and you can see the light going right through that. That's pretty awesome. But playing around with it, you can see where it go, where it's at, and then let's see. But this one doesn't have the light going through it, um, which is probably if I take yeah, I think I got it. Hold on. Copy parameter, paste values. When I rendered it, I didn't do the color. I didn't bring in the color attribute when I did that. But you always want to make sure you look at your references to see exactly what, Fire does. I didn't look at any references, so you know. But you can see now, compared to here, I get pretty much almost a similar look. I got a little bit of scattering here, just like here. This is a little lighter, so I think my density was a little heavier in this one. But you can see it's pretty much almost the same. Minor difference, but it's almost the same. So lots you can do with it. You just got to toy around with it. But that's how I did it. Let me plug this back in here. And then we'll bring, oh, we got to take the, I think we got to take the pyro bake out. I'll let this thing update a second. And there it is. Yep. So to render properly with that other way, you have to take the, yeah, take the pyro bake volume out. But you get your emission out of the light out of the volume there. And from there, you can play with the, you know, temperature. And you can see the hotter it gets, the more scattering you get on the, that more that light will hit the smoke right there. It's pretty good. Cool. So, um, and that's, you know, how I did it with the current version of Redshift, and the current version that's out right now is, if you open up your Maxon app, you'll see what version I'm on. 2025.2.0. There you go. Stop this, and you can see there's the volume, and then there's the new standard volume, and so this is the standard volume is what you want to use. And so that's how I did it. So I'll provide this zip file for you, so you can poke around with it. You'll just have to, um, you'll have to kind of, you'll have to file cache these out on your own. You know, to look at the results, but this will give you an idea what I did. And all I did, some of these nodes, like the smoke, I copied it to, I copied this to its, you know, another geometry node, and the fire and the combined fire and smoke, same thing. Um, so there you have it. Hope you got something out of this. And enjoy Redshift if you have it. And I'm definitely enjoying Axiom, so I'm learning a lot with it. Hey, have a good day.